Hey, what's your problem? You have business problems? We have business solutions.
Maybe.
Well, maybe.
Right.
Life is a fight.
Oh, it is.
In business, every day is a fight. So, hey, what's your problem?
Yes, thank you, John David Wells from the Wells Report. Check him out. He's out of the Big D, Dallas. He's on Facebook, the Wells Report on Facebook. Very smart, intellectual, articulate guy who talks politics all the time. Very big on that. We don't talk about politics all that much here because we got too many problems to talk about that are things that are in our sphere of control. And that's what this podcast is about. The problems of business owners and professionals here in Middle Tennessee that we can kind of maybe solve. Maybe not. We'll see. This is a video and audio podcast. Go to whatsyourproblempodcast.com and follow along. You'll be able to watch it or listen to it. Pick your poison. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Cloud Play, Wall Video, iTube, all the other names that I can kind of figure out and make up as I go along here. I am your host, Jim McCarthy with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com, and today, a long-awaited guest. I've been pining for these guys for quite some time now. Please welcome to the show, Brian and Jana Truman. Guys, welcome. How are you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, it's a long time coming.
We're glad to be here.
Finally.
Yay.
You're very busy people, which is okay to try and nail down and get you on the schedule and all that fun stuff. And you guys are in the commercial real estate business with the name of the business is what again?
It's SV and Accel Commercial Real Estate.
Right.
And we also own Accel Exit Advisors. So we help people buy, sell, and lease commercial real estate and invest in commercial real estate. And we also help people buy and sell and invest in businesses.
Nice. Very cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the something that we get the creative juices flowing. And that's with the Random 5, where we're going to talk about 5 random questions, completely random, that I could pull up here, but I think my internet just went down. Oh, here we go. All right, question number 1. Can a society exist without laws? Not political at all.
Not political at all.
Easy answer, no.
No.
Gotta have some laws, right?
Yeah, some laws.
All right. Question number 2. How much privacy are you willing to sacrifice for safety? My gosh.
What is the deal? I thought you said you weren't asking political questions.
These are completely random questions.
Oh my gosh.
Any privacy that comes to mind?
Well, I think we deal with people's privacy on a regular basis, so I'm going to say not a whole lot because it's critical to both of our businesses. So.
People are kind of giving it up anyway.
They are,
you know?
but we do try to be very careful with people's identity, and we do deal with a lot of non-disclosures. So for us, it's a matter of self-interest.
Yeah, particularly on the business brokerage.
Oh, yeah.
All that is all confidential.
You have to.
Right? So, yeah.
Okay, number 3. How would the world change if there was an accurate measure of aptitude?
Of aptitude. Wow.
That's like a meritocracy on steroids.
I love that question, though. I think the world would be a much better place for sure.
A lot more smarter people would be out there. Yeah. More. I just said more smarter. Let's just note that.
Well, I was just going to say that's kind of a loaded question because you could give a couple of different answers for that one.
Yeah.
I guess it would define merit, and it would define who's doing the testing. I mean, we could parse that down.
We could really get political on that question, couldn't we?
Yes.
Number 4, is some degree of censorship necessary?
Yes.
Just go to any nude beach. Number 5, what are the biggest moral dilemmas your country is facing right now? These are truly random. I kid you not.
You are planned this.
I did not plan this at all. Okay. It just went on this whole political. It heard me.
Okay.
Well, he wants political questions. Let's randomize the political ones.
So repeat the question.
What are the biggest moral dilemmas your country is facing now?
Right this second. Probably the right to life.
Right.
The right to think what you want to think. I think we have a lot of thought police.
Free speech.
I think definition of gender issues, things that who gets to decide what gender really is.
Yeah.
And I do think that taxation, I think, is still a huge one, and we deal with that every day in our business.
I'd imagine.
So for us, that is a huge issue, and it's going to determine to a great extent how well our country does.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think when the government, not that we're talking about politics here.
That seems like it's kind of leading that way.
Not when the government decides they're going to create an office of disinformation. That's because I swore off watching the news several years ago. I'm not aware of that. Yeah.
That they're actually creating. Is that a thing?
Yep, it is.
I'm completely unaware.
Yep.
Yeah. I just stopped. If it doesn't have any positive bent in my life, I drove it out.
Yeah. Well,
6
you're
years ago.
smart to swear that off.
If
So
you go
let's
by
put
the
it that
news
way.
today, they actually created some sort of a panel within the government to talk about UFO issues. And I was just laughing because I was like, we have so many issues.
The UFO thing, though, that's coming to a head. Yeah. I mean, that's becoming undeniable. There's too many phones and cameras out there that still can't seem to get a good photo and video of a UFO. It's always grainy and shaky.
Yeah.
So, I think the UFOs find the people who can't handle a camera.
Well, I think it's a really important issue. Of course, I would not deny people the ability to speculate on that.
Yeah.
But do we really need to have government spending towards it?
We've had it for the past 60 years.
Well, perhaps we've been paying for it and we just didn't know.
Yeah.
But at least, I guess maybe this is all of the efforts of transparency. Now they're just telling us how they're wasting our money.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you know what? We're all going to be, all right. Okay. Because what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
We're going to vote him out. No, you're not. They've already shown you that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we're getting political.
Okay. Can we stop the political questions?
We could stop the political questions at this point. I think that a lot of what we're talking about is problems of business owners, and you guys have been business owners for many, many, many years, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I mean, how did the whole thing begin for you? I know that you, Jana, you were in the marketing space for a number of years. Brian, I know you through Jana, but not all that much. So let's start with you. What's your backstory? How did you come to be where you are now?
Well, depends on how far we want to go back, right? So
Sure.
I love this setup
Thank you.
because this setup is what I came out of college doing.
Right. Broadcasting?
Right? My background was broadcasting. A lot of people don't know this, but first 3 or 4 years of my life, I was a sports broadcaster. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So
where did you work?
I worked for the NBC network in Salt Lake City.
Nice.
So I helped cover the Utah Jazz back in the day of, Karl Malone and John Stockton, and
that was mid '90s, somewhere in there. Okay, that was around when I got into
90s,
radio.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but then got into corporate America. Spent 22, 23 years in that, and then got out of that in 2011, 2012, started a business brokerage company from scratch, basically here in Nashville.
Right.
Grew it to be extremely successful, and then 2016, we signed ownership of that over to another party, signed a 3-year non-compete, and then I went into working with Jana in 2016 into real estate.
Right. So you combine those two superpowers right now, right?
Yep.
Jana looking at you longingly right now. I can tell.
Yes, the love in my eyes. It's palpable. You can cut it with a knife.
So Jana, tell me a little bit about you as well.
Sure. Well, my first career, as you mentioned, I have a degree in graphic design and a degree in advertising. And so for the first 17 years, I actually worked as a professional marketer, helping people solve their problems creatively. And I loved what I did, but I knew that I was never going to build wealth working for $1 per hour job.
Right.
And Brian was encouraging me to start my own business, and I knew that I didn't want to manage other creatives because I was like, we're all divas. I don't know how I want to do that. So
I try not to be.
Well, depends on the person, I suppose. But in my experience, I wanted to get an MBA. I decided that I wanted to go back to school, or maybe I could have an experience where I could work for somebody where I could watch them start their own business from scratch. And so this was already in the back of my mind. I'd already manifested that into the universe. And somebody approached me who was getting ready to go out on his own to be a commercial real estate appraiser company. And he was looking for someone that he could trust, that he, in his case, he said, Jana, you're in the wrong industry. And I said, well, I have won awards doing what I do. So I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be doing this. And people have been paying me for a long time as a professional. And he goes, yeah, but I think you can be good at two things at one time. And you're just really analytical. I think you should come and work for me as a commercial real estate appraiser. And I thought, okay, those usually go right hand in hand, being a professional creative and a financial analyst. Those are usually right?
Yeah, right and left brain.
Right, yeah. So, and thank heavens my brain let me do it. And I loved everything about real estate. But and he sent me to the best schools, and I honor my entire time that I had with him. But when I realized that my life was going to be basically as a cubicle jockey writing a 100-page math report, rinse, repeat I couldn't do it. I said, just kill me now.
Wow.
And I loved all things real estate. And so at that point in the business brokerage, we realized that there needed to be somebody who had a real estate license, because so many of the businesses have a real estate component. And so I went ahead and went through the schooling, got my license, and affiliated with an international brokerage, and then ended up doing really well. And initially, the idea was I was going to have Brian come and be my administrative assistant to help me with my deals, at least until we could find an administrative assistant. And I thought it was going to give me wiggle room for that, but that was an abject failure, because when he came over in 2016, he immediately started lead generating, and his sphere of influence was in commercial. Yeah. And I was going to have me do the commercial, because that's what I did I was a commercial real estate appraiser, right? Primarily, and so I was going to do commercial, and I was going to have him do residential. But he immediately started lead generating in the commercial field. And so I went, okay, fine, but I'm not going to be your secretary. That's not how this is going to work.
Power struggles right off the bat.
That's exactly right. So then it was like, all right, well, this is going to be, I'm going to be the one that gets to hire, and we're going to hire these people. And okay, that's fine. We're going to do this, but we're going to do it right. And really, we haven't really looked back. It's been awesome. To his credit, you have to understand, he was at the top of his game doing in his world. He was the guy that was always invited to be this keynote speaker in his industry. And he was already the senior vice president for that big company. And it was for the biggest boys on the block. So he was at the pinnacle of his career when he did it. And at that point, he was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've been doing it all these years. It's just time for a change. And I figured, well, if he's proven talent in this industry, then I'll have him come over here. And to his credit, I joke that commercial real estate is not for sissies, because it takes you a year to a year and a half where you don't make any money, or it's just a slugfest, and you're drinking from the fire hose as far as the learning curve. And he paid his dues and did it. And now he is a recognized expert in what he does, and he specializes specifically in multifamily. So it's pretty awesome. It's been a really fun career change to watch, and because he's just owned it. It's been really awesome.
It sounds like you've had a jump start with your background, Brian, with the kind of getting out of the gate with the lead gen, which a lot of people would imagine getting into commercial real estate is the toughest part of it. Learning about the business. The first deal doesn't happen for a year or two. Right. Mm-hmm. So you got to have all that time to have money for float, to make sure you can pay your bills up until you get your first deal. Right. So, correct. So you coming into it, were you able to kind of just get a couple of deals going automatically?
Yeah, fairly quickly.
Right.
I will say to what Jana just talked about, though, let me just say that I consider Jana I tell everybody she's our secret sauce.
Right.
Because having this appraisal background, so when it comes to evaluating properties, she nails it. It gives us a huge advantage.
Wow.
Compared to other brokerages out there. They don't have a managing director or their broker that also has that background. But to your point, Jim, I immediately just started calling my names in my phone, right?
Yeah.
My sphere of influence.
People your network.
Yeah, and was able to immediately get some credibility, in the market space. Also got a call from a gentleman out of California that had heard that I specialized in multifamily, and immediately got some contract or properties under contract that happened, and from that time on, it's kind of been game on.
Yeah.
Right, for me to get educated very quickly on the multifamily space, and like Jana says, to this point now, I facilitate it's a multifamily focus group of REN, which is Real Estate Investors of Nashville. They belong to a national organization, but the group here, there's 700 members to that.
Oh, wow.
And I facilitate that meeting every first Thursday of every month. So I'm the one that has to get
he's the
speaker.
recognized expert.
Yeah.
I'm the
You're
one that has to get the
influencer.
speakers, picks the topics, runs the meeting. I kind of do what you're doing right now with us, right, is asking the questions and facilitating and doing all that. So
Are you kind of running a panel with the speakers as well?
Sometimes.
sometimes it's a speaker too. Sometimes it's a panel.
Right.
Depends on the topic. Like the last topic we had was on underwriting, and we had two different gentlemen there who they don't work for the same company, but they do very similar their acquisitions for their companies. And so, but the two of them have worked on properties together.
Right.
And so I had them as a panel. So they were able to kind of work back and forth on their topic, and it worked out real well.
Nice. I mean, do you find that what kind of people you're typically looking for in your business? I mean, is it people to sell the community, the real estate and be agents within your business, but also attracting people who want to invest in the commercial real estate? You talk a lot, Jana. Jana and I are also BNI mates, I guess, comrades, colleagues. We're both in BNI, local chapter here, Williamson County, the biggest one. One of the most successful ones. One of the most, not opulent, I guess.
Dominant ones?
Dominant, yeah. I mean, just award-winning, one of those chapters. And it seems like you're looking to help people build generational wealth.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So we have an event that we also do where we actually, and it's free. Anybody can go onto our website and see that. It's basically it's at accelcre.com/events. You can sign up and you can do. It's a webinar. We have an enterprise license with Zoom, and we invite people who've already achieved generational wealth. And then we also invite vendors or people who are going to help the people who are aspirational for generational wealth be able to build their teams. So we really do help people solve the problem of that if they have money and they don't know how to invest in commercial real estate.
Right.
So we give them the education to be able to invest in commercial real estate, and then we also help them have access to deals that they might not otherwise have. And then we walk alongside them throughout that process. We help them go from their first investment all the way to portfolio maximization.
So you're kind of speaking my language here, here. So, I mean, a lot of what you're talking about is, I've got some extra cash.
Right.
I need to do something with it and outpace inflation or maybe even match it.
Sure.
How do I go about doing that? So you're kind of leading the charge on educating people out there to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Through commercial multifamily.
Well, it can be through different segments in commercial.
Right.
But with my specialty being, multifamily, a lot of times I get the question, why are you so passionate about, real estate, commercial real estate?
Right.
Right. When they get talking to me, I can get, pretty passionate about it. And I tell them, my passion is to take that first time, that person who says, I want to get into investing in commercial
And they're
real
like,
estate.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know how.
me.
I want to build
scary.
generational wealth,
Yeah.
but I don't understand how.
Right.
So, I love to walk them through, as Jana said, is to take them, help them buy that first property, and then over the years scale to where they get, say, in 10 years, they have enough passive income through what we have done and help them walk that path, as Jana said, to where 10, 12 years later, they have enough passive income, they can do whatever they want, right?
I really don't think a lot of people understand that notion.
No,
I mean,
they
it's
don't.
crazy.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the right things, I listen, the Cardones of the world and stuff like that. We've got a little bit of money invested in his Cardone capital. I'll be completely forthright. We had an extra IRA. We converted it to a self-directed and just, all right, let's see, it's just a little bit of cash. Let's see what you do with it.
Sure.
So far so good. It's not generating all that much, but it's generating something based on a certain amount of money we have invested.
Right.
And I guess at some point he sells the property and we get a kickback, So there's two forms of income there. There's a little bit of passive, nothing really to write home about, but also the appreciation of the asset. Yeah. So I have a basic understanding of it. It's just getting to the point where you have the, the extra 150, 200 grand to put into something. I mean, is that the kind of the neighborhood of where people have to be?
Well, it all depends on what you're wanting to do. So if you're going to be an accredited investor, then you have to have a minimum of $250,000 per person if you're an individual, or $350,000 if you're a married couple, or you have to have $1 million liquid assets.
Right.
Or you have to be a professional in the industry. So Brian and I would be considered to be an accredited investor.
What does that mean to be an accredited investor?
That means that you can invest in a syndication that is not an accredited fund. So Grant Cardone's fund is an actual fund.
Right.
And interestingly enough, the gentleman who helped start Cardone Capital for Grant Cardone actually hangs his license with us.
Right.
And his name is Benjamin Inman, and he now owns Inman Equities. And so that's kind of a fun connection. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I didn't. But to me, it seems like, okay, if you don't want to do all the homework and jump through all the hoops, just give me your money.
Right.
We'll do it for you.
So a fund or a REIT is kind of the low version, the easy version, but it's and somebody else is managing your money, and you're just going to get a return, right?
Right.
Then it all is a matter of how much risk you want to have, and of course there is generally a correlation for the amount of risk to the amount of return. So.
Right.
The higher the risk, generally speaking, and if you're a smart investor, then the higher return that you should demand to have for the risk. And so if you're going to buy a Dollar General, for example, you can pay $1.8 million, $1.8 million, and the cap rate's going to be somewhere in the fives and sixes, meaning that you're going to get a good return, a solid return, but it's not going to be super fantastic. But it's mailbox money. It's money that it's a fix it and forget it. It's, they usually run 15 to 20 years. And during the life of that lease, it's money there's an escalation over time. So it's a really great product.
Yeah, and they're triple net leases. So for the owner, they're not having to, they're all the taxes, insurance, maintenance, everything is paid by the tenant.
Right.
So all they're doing is sitting back and, collecting.
See, up until now, I had no idea what triple net even meant.
Yeah. So
I just pretended.
Yeah. So but to Jana's point, we'll have people, come to us and they may say, hey, I've got 50,000. What do I do with this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of ways. They can start small and buy a duplex.
Right.
Right. Or if they want to kind of learn, they can also, we can match them up with somebody that either has a syndication or they have some kind of a a fund that they fund money, and so they can get some returns to maybe build that up. Maybe they want to get up to 75 or 100 or something, that. And so they can do that, or they can invest with, somebody and kind of watch from the outside of how that property is run and how that property grows over time. And many times they will get cashed out within a year or two, and then they can take that and now go do their own.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they've spent the last 2 years watching somebody else, grow this asset, right?
I have to
they
become,
get the education.
I need to become more savvy with investing because every time I try to get into the market, crypto or anything like that, I got to warn people. Probably a good time to pull your money out because I'm getting in. And typically when that happens, everything goes down. But I mean, that's, for someone like me who I'm playing catch up, right?
Sure.
I was in a radio for much of my professional life. One single income family, Courtney stayed home, took care of the kids. That was our investment. Hopefully it pays off. We will, well, that has yet to be seen. But, it's one of those things that I'm playing catch up for the past 5 years, just trying to figure out how to, I got to get up to a certain level and put some money away, make sure that we're not a burden on our kids when they become productive and in their prime, that mom and dad can take care of themselves and that we've got the mailbox money and things of that nature. For somebody like in my season of life, is it possible, let's say by the time I'm 55, to have that kind of scenario? For me, it's 9 years away.
Well, I think again, going back to what Brian says about starting small. So we, right now, actually don't invest because we don't want the people that we work with to think that we're siphoning off all the best deals. But our intent and our plan is going to be similar to what we would recommend for you, in that we have 4 sons and our intent is to buy 4 quadplexes and basically have that be as part of our retirement. And then obviously when we pass on, then they each get to inherit one.
Right.
And so then it makes it simple for them and us to be able to have their inheritance is pretty clear, cut and dry. But that's 16 units, and depending on where they're at, and depending on how much effort we want to do on actually being involved in the maintenance of those properties, it's going to depend how much money we're going to make.
Right.
But for somebody like you, or whether you're young or old, what we do is we help you create the plan. So if you're going to deal with a wealth manager who's going to sell you stocks and bonds, they're going to show you the products that they sell.
Yeah.
Right. And we do encourage you to invest in the market for the traditional products. Real estate's considered to be an alternative investment, but it's actually one of the most important types. But you can be diversified even within your real estate portfolio. So there's nothing stopping you from buying a quadplex and then maybe buying an office condominium, or, there's all different things, and you start small and build up. The rule of thumb, though, is to buy as big as you can afford, because you want to have the economies of scale.
Yeah.
So wherever you're at, the idea is, just like the acorn, when's the best time to plant an oak tree? 20 years ago, of course. When is the second best time? Today. Yeah. And people will say, well, the market is going to just change and it's going to be bad and blah, blah, blah. And we're actually in an awesome market here in Nashville. But even if you're not in Nashville, there are bargains and deals to be had no matter where you're at. And you just need to be smart about how you go about it. And the most important thing is who is on your team, who's going to help you. So for you, you already have a little bit of a leg up because you are surrounded by people in BNI and in your community of really good, trusted, vetted vendors, people who can help you. Because no matter who you're investing in, you're going to need a tax attorney, and a contract attorney. You're going to need to have a good realtor. You might want to try and do the deals by yourself, but especially if you're first starting out, I would recommend getting a good realtor, whether it's us or someone else. Right. Hire somebody to help you. You're going to need to have a good commercial insurance company, just accountant. You're going to want to have that team, and you're going to want to tell them about your intent that you're wanting to try to get ready to invest.
Yeah.
So that's step number one, is build your team. Step number two is to get educated. You're already listening to great podcasts. But I think we probably want to go back to step 1A and revisit that, because I think...
Buy a Lambo.
No.
Right?
No. Step 1A would be having the mindset of money.
Yeah.
Right? And understanding cash flow and compounding interest. If I were to give anybody any advice today, it would be to understand the concept of cash flow and compounding interest.
Tony Robbins talks about it in his latest book.
Right?
Yeah. But I think Jana brings up a very big point, because we have a lot of people that come to us about, and it's that whole mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Because they feel like, whoa, man, there's no way I can accomplish that.
That's for only
right?
for really, really,
and
really rich people.
And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
We can.
I was going to ask, what does frustrate? When you hear things, what makes you go, "Oh, come on"?
Yeah. Well, that doesn't necessarily frustrate me.
Yeah.
Like I say, to me, that's my passion.
Yeah.
Is to say, you know what? I think you've misjudged yourself.
Yeah. Have you
Right?
considered?
Yeah.
Right.
And then basically, talk to them about, buying that first duplex and maybe buying the second one. And then, 2 years later, they do a cash out refi. And then maybe they either buy a second one or they buy a quad.
Yeah.
Right. A couple years later, they cash out refi that, or they sell that, 1031 that money, and then they buy a 12 unit. Right. And they just keep scaling up over the
rinse,
over
wash,
the time.
wash, rinse, and
Yep.
repeat.
Yeah, and then maybe they buy a 50, and maybe they buy two 50s, right? And they continue going. And I always tell them, you got to do it once, because once you do it, you're going to learn a lot of the pros and cons. But then also, it may seem scary, but to Jana's point, you'd say you have a good agent on your side that's going to walk you through. We have relationships with all those trusted vendors that we can connect them to. Once they do the first one, it's really, what the cool thing is, Jim, is once they do it the first time, man, you see the light bulb come on.
It's eye-opening.
Yeah,
They
and
catch
then
fire.
all of a sudden they catch fire. And then they are on fire. And then it's like trying to hold the reins back on them, because they want to go so fast, so quick, but they are on fire. And all of a sudden they go, you know what? You're right. This wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
See, I'm afraid of doing it, and then I'm going to say, man, I should have done this 20 years ago, which is why I don't do it.
Yes, and we have a lot of those. We have a lot of those clients.
You fit our profile, Jim.
I know. I tell some of the younger people that work for us here at J Squared, the J2 HQ, that look, one person came to me. She's about 20, 21 years old, and she wanted to move out of her parents' house. I said, look, if I had to do it all over again, hang out with mom and dad, all right? As long as you can. As much as I love you, I hate to lose you, but dude, go sell something. Go figure out how to sell. Go sell cars. Go door to door. Go pick something and sell it. Learn how to sell. Commit yourself to it for 2, 3, 4 years. Just bell to bell. Grind your butt off, okay? And I said, if you're good at it, you'll do well. And if you just stick around and build a book of business, you'll learn so many things. So the biggest thing you can learn is selling, how to conduct proper business, how to lead gen, how to look at deals, things that I think that business, the car business, I tell people all the time, teaches you so much about just business in general, fundamentals, right?
How to talk to people, how to cold call,
exactly, how to close,
talk on the phone.
Right?
Yeah,
and just how to just kind of be not a schmoozer, but just to be getting your mind in the right direction. Okay, hang out with mom and dad, put your money away, disciplined. Okay, even though it seems like 3 years is a lifetime, I said, trust me, by the time you're 30, it's going to seem like it went like that. Take that money, there's your down payment. Yeah. Okay, and I tell them, find a 16-plex, find a 24-plex. And if you want to move out, good. You got the rest of the 23 units paying for your one. They're paying your rent. Now, wash, rinse, and repeat. I said, by the time you're 30, you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Easily.
Well, and the thing, too, with us, what we love to do is, a lot of our clients are very generous, And they will sit down with somebody that's just starting and just talk to them, right? To help them kind of get over that fear.
Yeah.
You know, we have some clients that are now 40 years old. They started investing when they're 28. They're at this point at 40 now. They have enough passive income. And
I wouldn't have the income back then. It was all going into paying bills.
But they'll tell you, you know what? We wouldn't have to sell another property. We're set for life.
Yeah.
Right? Mm. And it's these kind of people, even though they have accomplished that, they are so willing to give back.
Right.
You know, and to help people understand.
They have the time.
This is not the scary thing that you're thinking it is.
Yeah. But I mean, they kind of teach that, you know, not in school, but I mean, we're kind of programmed to have that fear about, you know, it's not even really high risk. It's real estate.
Yep.
It's typically not very high risk.
Well, and in fact, no matter what happens in the stock market, if the stock market goes down and your stock goes to zero, it's at zero and it stays at zero. There's nothing left. Yeah. You can't build equity on that. In real estate, you are going to always have the dirt.
Yeah.
And it will have value. So, it doesn't, unless there's a super fun site or something like that, putting my appraisal hat on, there is such a thing as a negative value, but it's highly, highly, highly unlikely, especially in our market, to own land that it's going to devalue to the point where it has nothing. And in fact, it's the greatest hedge against what's going on in our economy today is that that dirt is going to have value. And as the population increases, they're not building any more of it.
Yeah.
You've heard that saying.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is that people have to have some place to live. They have to have some place to do their business. Even if it's going to be online, there's still going to be data centers that have to support that. You still have to go to the grocery store. You still have to go to the dry cleaner. So all of those things all involve real estate.
Right.
So every aspect. And in fact, when people get ready to sell their businesses lately, we're seeing it's a very strong trend that the majority of the people whose businesses, they get ready to sell their businesses, their kids don't want to do the family business anymore.
Right.
So then
it's not their thing.
It's not their thing.
Which is okay. Yeah.
So then how do you create a legacy for your kids if they don't want to be in the family business? Well, what we're seeing is that those business owners, and we have somebody right now this is their goal, is they've hired us to sell their business, and they're going to take that money and transition that money into commercial real estate, into income producing real estate. And that is then going to be what they're going to leave as a legacy to their kids. So instead of shackling their kids with a business that they hate and don't want to do, they're giving them, with estate planning, of course, how that to be able to fulfill their dreams and to be able to do the things that they truly want to do. Mm-hmm. Help pay for their university, help pay for their down payment, help pay for the birth of their first child or whatever. And it's all through this investment plan that they have. And the result is with real estate.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty cool thing. The ultimate goal, though, for us in all of this is somewhat altruistic in that obviously we want to bless people's lives and help people improve their standard of living. But ultimately, we want to help them not just improve their standard of living, we want them to be able to improve their standard of giving. Mm-hmm. So all these things that we're doing to try to help people improve their lives is so that they can then turn around and bless other people's lives. And I think that's part of why the people that choose to invest with us, it resonates with them. That's partly why they're so generous. And they do look at others who are maybe just on step 1 or step 2, and they want to help them out because it's part of giving back, right? And I know that is, that sounds super Pollyannish, but we really truly do believe that. We really are all about helping people go to level up.
Yeah.
And then when you get up there, it's not just enough. You're not going to be happy if you're up there by yourself. And you're not going to be happy just to make money. That might make misery a little bit more comfortable, but it doesn't solve the problem of
I tell my
giving
kids,
you meaning.
Look, you can. I want you to figure out why you're on this earth, which is the toughest part of life, in my opinion.
Sure.
What your self-awareness is. My son doesn't really care about school. Look, I get it. but that's still what you got to do right now. That's your job. Sure. That's your purpose every day, is to get up and do the best you can at school. When you don't, there are going to be consequences. With my daughter, they're very artistic. I said, look, you can pursue the arts and be artistic, but you got to fund it. So what if you had a lifestyle that you just listen to dear old dad and do what he wishes he would have done, even though you don't think I know what I'm talking about. And look, I'm not doing it. I'm not living the example. Right. I'm still trying to get there. So I know on a fundamental basis what to do. I'm just still trying to get there with the reserve account and have the opportunity to put money into something that has a return for Courtney and I down the road. I said, but what if you could do that at 23, at 24, at 25? Right. By the time you're 30, now, even though it seems like a lifetime away, trust me, it's not. It goes by in a blink, and you'll be there sooner than you know it. But what if you had the income to fund your lifestyle? Yeah. What if what if that you could be, beneficial with it, or donation minded in a sense? Do you look for those qualities in your clients?
Well, I don't think that we necessarily look for them in our clients. Their clients see that in us, and that's where we end up coming full circle, really. I think there are a lot of different paths. There are plenty of people who are cutthroat and do it the other ways.
That's their purpose.
But that's their purpose. Yeah. Our job, and I think this is the cool thing about Brian and I being in this together, is that we have figured out that our purpose is to be the guide.
Right.
And our goal is to help people walk along. It's not about us. Even though our name is Truman, it's not the Truman Show. It's about
It's a good movie.
It's the clients helping the clients.
Yeah.
The clients are the heroes. We're helping them in their hero's journey to be able to achieve their dreams. And of course, we get to have fun doing it. And as it turns out, talking about your purpose in life, I think I can speak for Brian in this case, but I think we've genuinely figured out that this is part of what we were put on this earth to do.
Right.
It's not the only thing, but if you think about both of our lives and how we, our path, there's a reason why we're really good at it. It's because we love it and we're good at it and we've been prepared for it from the very beginning. And now it's just time for us to give back and to give to our clients.
I also, for us, I think, we tell people we are not in the real estate business. We're actually in the people business.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about building these relationships. And to your point, we get so many people referred to us because of the relationships we've built and the clients that we have. And they're like, you know what? You need to go see Accel Group and Brian and Jana. Those guys will take good care of you. They're going to treat you the right way. They're going to help you put this plan together. And we have clients that are in their early 20s. Yeah. And, to your point, I'm like, you know what? I say to them, I'm so jealous of you. I wish I would have understood real estate and started at this age. But we also have some of our top clients that they didn't get started until their late 50s.
Oh, really?
Right. And they're now 62, 63, and they have done very well for themselves just in a 4 or 5 year time period.
Do you think that later age starting, the seasonality of life plays into that and helps them make better decisions?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I do think so.
I have hope then.
yeah, from there. But two, they weren't introduced to real estate at that age, and they were very involved in their other careers and didn't, it was not presented to them.
Yeah.
And they wish they would have known, at 58 or at 28, what they finally discovered at 58, that type of age, standpoint. But, it's so people can start, it doesn't matter what age. People can start and build that, generational wealth. But again, it's all about relationships. I mean, we tell people that all the time. We are not in the real estate business.
Yeah.
We are in the relationship business, and it's building those, maybe this comes from my background of being in sales and sales management for, 22 years is, it's all about building relationships of trust with people, right? Till they can sit down and visit with Jan and I, and within about 15 minutes, they can go, you know what? These two are people we can trust.
Yeah. You get a good feeling off you, a good vibe.
Yeah.
And, for me, I'm not sure if I want to build generational wealth. My kids deserve my wealth. I mean, I want to make sure they're not burdened with paying for us. That's kind of my modus operandi. And if they can do it for themselves, which is what I want to try and make sure I teach them, that's, and I'm being kind of funny here, but,
Well, but no, I mean, I do think you
failing horribly.
Well, no, I think you do actually make a really good point, because there are a lot of people who want to set their children up for success to their children's own detriment, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you give your kids too much, then that can be a real problem. But that's a burden we would gladly give you to have to make that decision, right?
Yeah. You can find your purpose a lot faster when your back's up against a wall.
Sure.
When you're, being hung over a cliff.
Well, and I don't ever regret a lot of the struggles and trials that I personally deal with, and in fact, in order to be a member of our team to work for us, we actually target people who have had and overcome adversity, because
who hasn't, right?
Well, but
to a certain extent.
But this job is not an easy job, and if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right.
And as I'm speaking of just being a commercial broker, and there is a huge amount of
iron will
that has to go into it. So grit is our number one attribute. Of somebody that we want, somebody that has that persistence to keep slugging it out.
For an agent.
Agent,
right.
Yeah. If somebody wants to come and work for us. Because, in fact, we think we're going to start a T-shirt line, and I think it could be expanded to sales everywhere. There's going to be two different phases. One is the Lazarus T-shirt, and it's going to say, bringing deals back from the dead every day.
Right.
And then the second one is going to be the ER, code blue T-shirt, that... clear. Because we bring, because deals can die for no reason other than just, the property didn't work or something like that.
Car business, they unwound all the time.
Sure.
After you sold the car.
Sure.
But I mean, the car business is good for sales in general, because you can feel like you're winning pretty much right off the bat.
Well, and I think that if you're good with the gab, if you can talk.
Yeah.
You can sell in the car business, and but you do have to know your stuff if you really want to truly have longevity in the business, and I think that applies to commercial real estate as well.
Yeah, I mean, having a passion for it. I just came back from Baton Rouge from one of my clients down there, Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge. Go to mbobr.com. Check them out if you're in Baton Rouge and want to buy a car. There's a person down there named Lynn Whitty. She's been selling there for 26 years.
Wow.
26 years. She doesn't have to take an up. I mean, her business comes to her. She's got such a wealth and book of business that she's built over the years that I'm like, that's one of the biggest components right there, is just commitment and staying in the same place and getting better at your craft. My pal Rich, who he's got a philosophy that he speaks on all the time. He plays for Jason Aldean. CRASH, commitment, relationship, attitude, skill, and hunger. 5 words.
Yeah, I think
sums it up right there.
That is a really great summary. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, I know we kind of switched to agents wise, but, it's interesting for us over the years in hiring agents. You talk about car salesmen, right? Yeah. So car salesmen make great agents because of just what you said, right? They're also, you talk about hustlers. They've had to sit there and make phone calls and cold call and do all of that, build those relationships. But the two other ones that work really well in commercial real estate are ex-athletes and bartenders.
I was going to say, yeah.
Because those bartenders have to hustle, right?
There's
the more drinks they pour, the more money they make.
And they know people.
So they can build relationships and talk with everybody and anybody. Athletes are very disciplined. They're very, everything they do to be an athlete, it's interesting over the years how we have really pinpointed on 2 or 3, really 3 main industries that make great agents.
The same company that owns that dealership in Baton Rouge owns dealerships in Birmingham, here in Music City, and the Woodlands in Texas. So in the Woodlands, there's a woman down there similar
Houston area.
the Houston area, similar to the Lynn Whitty. I can't remember the woman's name in the Woodlands, but she was somebody's executive assistant and was really behind the eight ball, trying to make, eke out a living, make sure that she could send her kid to college, always had this desire to send her kid to college. The CEO of the company looks for people like that. With, I don't care if you sold cars. If anything, that's a knock against you, for something for you to overcome. We don't care if you sold cars. We care if you have the attitude and then the aptitude. We want the attitude first. And that's got to be a buy-in to our culture.
Yeah,
so
100%.
And he's all about culture. Amazing. I've never seen a culture crafted the way that they're doing it in a car dealership of all things.
Well, that's cool.
And it's very cool because you see them doing exactly what you're talking about. A lot of athletes, a lot of people who are in the service industry, restaurants, bartenders. And this one woman who came out of, I want to say she was an executive assistant from her story that the last time I filmed her. And she's the number one person in that dealership. Sells 25 to 30 a month.
We tell people, or the young men, young women, to come in and interview with us. And I tell them all the time. I said, you can be the smartest person, you can be the greatest salesperson, but if you don't fit our culture and our fit, it's not going to work for us, right? And so we agree with them. We're all about culture.
Do you have your cultural icons and pillars and things of that nature all spelled out?
Yes. We actually have characters and attributes, but we also, when we do our interviews, we actually try to talk people out of coming to work for us.
Yeah.
We'll say, if you're that cranky person that likes to have the dark cloud that goes around, if you are that person that likes to gripe and bring drama wherever you come. There are industries where that's actually kind of the norm, but for us, it's like, well, you just leave that at home because.
But how do you cut through that veneer in the interview?
Because we ask them questions about about adversity and how they've handled adversity. Right. And that is generally a pretty good way to cut through that veneer because we give them like a role play or for instance or whatever. Yeah. Because. And then we're slow to hire but quick to fire if it's not going to work out. Right. But if we're human beings, if somebody is having trouble or whatever, then we do want to try to work with them as much as possible. But at the same right, we don't tolerate dishonesty, and we say so. That's we tell people if you're one of those people that cuts corners or always is living on the edge and is always wondering whether is this legal or not, then you don't want to work for us because
is this legal or not.
Maybe I don't know.
Only if I get caught.
Yeah, right.
Well, and too, Jana starts out the interview, which I think always kind of with some people can set them back a little bit, but it's more to see how they react.
Do you guys play good cop, bad cop?
Not necessarily, but she'll start out the interview by saying, okay, I'm going to spend the majority of this time trying to talk you out of coming to work for us. Right. Right. And so sometimes you'll see people squirm in their chair like, okay, what am I in for? But a lot of it is to figure out how they're going to react. Right. Right. And then the following questions kind of determine.
So you get the F with them.
Yeah. Well, but it's in a way, I want them to self-eliminate. Yeah. I want to tell them.
Let's get real.
I want to tell them what they're really signing up for, so that when it starts getting tough, I can say, we did have this conversation, and you agreed that you knew what you were getting into when I told you that this job is not going to be the easiest job, and that you're going to have to hustle. And oh, by the way, we're not giving you leads. After a certain point, you've got to go get them yourself. We're going to incentivize you to do that.
And you're going to want to do that anyway.
Right. We're not going to give you a quota because life has a quota. It's called rent and food bills and car payment. Yeah. And if you're not paying those, that is on you, not on us. So, and we've actually had people go, I don't think this is for me. I'm thankful that you were going to, talk to me about this.
But
All right,
when we say about, okay, if you want to self-eliminate, we tell them the beginning, anytime during this interview, if you feel like this is not for me and want to
It's
end
okay.
it's okay. Yeah. And we will tell them, you know what, our job is, yes, we're doing an interview, but it's also to find, okay, there's probably another fit for you, and
let us help you find
let
that
us
fit.
help you find that, right? It's just not with us, but we're all about wanting to help you, but we'll help you find the right fit.
One of the things that the gentleman that runs those dealers, the CEO, his name is Joe Agresti, and I've had one interview with him. I want to get him on my podcast again, but he's one of these guys that's tough to nail down. But he told a story about the wheelchair. Okay, so during one of the interviews for his upper executive level managers that he was interviewing, he hired an elderly woman to be pushed across the street or wheel herself across the street in a wheelchair. So after they took this person to lunch, he would position himself so the person was on the outside, nearest the curb. And the woman would time her approach. And he says, if the person didn't break from us and disengage and help her up onto the sidewalk, the interview was over. I'm like, that is harsh. I said, damn. He says, that's you're not our kind of person.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do that tells us a lot.
Maybe I'll have to come up with some sort of version of that, I guess. Spill coffee on them or something. I don't know. Something I won't get sued over, but yeah.
But those little things, I mean, you can tell a lot in an interview. I make it a regular, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I make it a regular practice to, if someone's wearing a name tag, I use their name. Or even if it's a server at a restaurant, hey, what's your name? And I try, because I'm so bad with names, Bob. I know your name is Brian. I'm joking. I even struggled to come up with the wrong name. Go figure. That I try to use their name just to only practice using people's names. You know how you're supposed to use like 3 or 4 times in a 5-minute conversation. But man, it's like music to their ears. Yeah. You know, they just will super serve you if you just treat them like people.
Right? Well, while we're on this culture, having the right culture, it was interesting because Jana and I had the opportunity last Saturday, to have dinner with a billionaire with Jeff Hoffman. Created Priceline, founder of Priceline. All the kiosks you use in the airport and all that.
Just used them to book a hotel.
Yeah, and it was interesting because the question was asked, would you hire somebody who is just very, very talented, or somebody that fits your culture best?
Right.
Which one would you hire? He said, I would hire the person that fit my culture over the guy that was talented any day.
Yeah. It's attitude.
He'll find the most talented person that fits his culture.
Right. It's attitude and aptitude. You hire for attitude. You could teach aptitude. Attitude is tough. Once people think a certain way, my decision to stop marinating my mind in negative stuff in 2016 was a conscious choice. I had to make that choice.
A great choice.
It was a great choice because look, and once again, something I learned in the car business. Okay. I would come in there and I would just, this unwound and this is happening. And I had one salesperson who came up, a good buddy of mine, senior salesperson who came up and he's like, what's wrong? I said, I got this going on and that going on. I was one of those guys you described. I'm griping, right?
Right.
And he goes, and this is exactly the basis of this podcast. He looks at me straight in the eye and goes, it's always something. And it's like, as soon as he said that, I literally physically leaned back and going, it's always 3 little words that just changed my life. You know what? You're right. It is always something. As soon as you accept that, my gosh, does your perception change? Because you're just like, it really is always something. And if you acknowledge the some things that you can control versus the ones you can't, you learn a lot. You really have catapulted your life.
Sure, focus. It's where you focus your intent.
Right. 100%. And so many people, you look at Facebook any given day. Politics, stuff they can't control. My brother, and we would talk about, stuff that's going on with family and stuff like that. And he feels obligated. I'm like, can you control it? Well, no. Then what are we talking about here? Yeah. But it's you feel obligated. I get it. It's family. We feel obligated to take it, but they're making decisions that are not good for them. We know that. You've voiced your concern. There's not much else you can do.
We love them, and sometimes we love them from afar.
Yeah.
On purpose, and sometimes we...
And sometimes you just got to let, you're going to make the mistakes. I mean,
Sure.
with kids, well, I don't want them to learn the hard way. Why? That's why we repeat history. We repeat history because we didn't learn it the first time. Well, we have history books. Well, we didn't know. We don't know what World War II felt like. We can read about it. We know the outcome. We know it was all sunshine and dandelion and roses in the late 40s, 50s. But imagine living through that. Imagine our grandparents living through that time, not knowing the outcome, the uncertainty. Oh my gosh, are we going to be nuked? Right?
Yeah.
We don't know what that felt like. We're learning now. Right?
Yes. Well, and I think people tend to think,
I went off on a tangent.
Well, we've got it so bad now, but the reality is that the human condition, it's there, like you say, it's always something. If you look at any given moment in time, they're dealing with their own crises, and no one gets out of this life alive. No one is exempt from adversity, etc.
You've heard me talk about pendulum, right?
No. What did you say?
Well, essentially, Pendulum is a book that was written, kind of qualified another set of books called Generations. And Generations are all about essentially not learning from history. So we're going through a time right now. It seems very tumultuous. Oh my gosh, it's never been this way. I always say, yes, it has. It has been this way before. You don't remember it. It's been other generations, other times, other civilizations, yada, yada, yada. It's actually cyclical.
Same
and
game,
right
different
now,
names of players.
And right now is the most tumultuous time of the pendulum, where it's we're going through what they call a wee cycle. And the zenith of a wee is the darkest part. Happens every 80 years.
That's fascinating.
Where the cultural attitude is, I'm okay, you're not okay. Look around you. Yeah. And in the book, they take it back 3,000 years.
Well,
and it times out, man. It's crazy.
I think that if you bring that kind of back into the financial markets, and that's actually one of the reasons why I think what we do is so important.
Yeah.
Is because it is so tumultuous, and people will say to us, "Well, I know that I need to be investing in Nashville, and why? Why do I need to be in Nashville?" My friends tell me I need to be there, and we say, "Well, because it's a stable market in a tumultuous in a tumultuous time. Mm-hmm. So you have all these different areas where it is tumultuous, and so they're wanting for a safe place to put their money. Now, investment by its design is not always safe.
Right.
There's going to be risk involved, but Nashville is a really great bet right now. We have a very diverse economy. Yeah. And we're not by any means perfect, and we have flaws with just like any major city, but it's great as far as the investments are concerned. And so that's kind of coming full circle. That actually is the tumultuous times. This is kind of our answer.
Is this your problem? I gotta at least fire it off once. I didn't ask yet. Are we stumbling upon a problem that you're having?
Our problem?
Yeah.
You mean finding people to help? I guess. Actually, that's not our problem. No. We have such a huge, deep bench of buyers.
Right.
Our problem is finding people who want to sell.
Right. People who want to work.
Yeah.
Finding product.
Inventory.
Oh yeah.
So. Inventory, you see inventory in residential, but
you barely see that now.
In commercial, it's the same thing. Finding inventory. We'll get the call saying, "Hey, can you help us find 100,000 square feet of industrial, or even 50,000 square feet?" And we're like, "How far out do you want to go? Right. Outside of Nashville." Right, because you look at it 2 years ago when the tornado came through, it wiped out 8 million square feet of industrial. It's taken 2 years to build 9 million back.
Wow.
Well, that puts us back to zero again, right?
Right.
And yet we've had all these companies and businesses come to Nashville that want industrial.
So maybe it's the opportunity is to find the land and build the buildings.
Absolutely.
Well, and the company that we work for, SVN Accel Commercial Real Estate, we are the SVN is the number one land.
Sells more land than any other
company
Really?
in the country. Yeah.
Even over like the Cushman and Wakefields and the Colliers and CBREs and all those guys.
So that's actually one of the reasons why we chose to affiliate with them is because of that very thing, trying to look towards the future. I am in the CCIM program. I'm actually doing the development track,
Right.
with the purpose of if you can't find product, then make it.
Right. Right.
So go find the land, help people build and to do development.
Right.
It's kind of like the next horizon, I guess.
The one that we didn't talk about before we wrap things up is that you've got an event coming up in June.
Yes.
Let's make sure we talk about that.
Yes.
That is the
Accelerate to Generational Wealth.
Right.
April 10th. It's at the City
June-
Winery.
June 10th.
Or, excuse me.
June 10th?
April 10th. June 10th.
happened 2 months ago.
Yeah. This is a Back to the Future moment. So we
With
have
the real Brad Lea.
we have the real.
We're going to be
Brad
dropping
Lea.
some bombs.
Yes, and we have Rob Luna, who is Forbes magazine recognized him as the #1 wealth manager in the country.
Nice.
And then we have Albert Preciado, who puts on his own investment event every year, and he owns a mortgage company and a bunch of different companies.
Real estate company.
Real estate
Right.
company.
Right.
And then we have Trevor Maddich, who is a 16-time Emmy Award-winning sports broadcaster for ESPN. He is going to be talking about picking your coaches and working with the best teams.
Right.
And we have, of course, myself and Brian
We have
are going to be
Coach
speaking.
Michael Burt is going to be
Coach
talking
Bart.
about-
Coach Bart.
Coach
That's
Burt.
right.
Everybody
Gonna be-
needs a coach in life.
Everyone needs a coach and laugh.
And he'll be talking about Pray
Can't see the
Drive.
picture if you're inside the frame.
That's exactly right. And then the gentleman that we mentioned, Benjamin Inman, who started Cardone Capital for Grant Cardone,
cool.
he is going to be speaking at that event.
And you invited me to be a part of it, and it's like I've got a wedding that weekend. Dang it.
Dag
I
damn
know.
it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
But if people are interested, they need to
Yeah.
hurry and get their ticket because
Where
we're
can they get
almost
them?
sold out.
So if you go to accelcre.com, accelcre.com/events, the links for the tickets are on that website.
We'll make sure we put it in the description as well.
Yeah,
so people
we
can
would
drive
love
there.
that. And come and learn and get your mindset, level up.
Not
It's
that expensive. You get to hang.
No.
You're hanging around people. You're marinating your mind in good stuff and marinating yourself in good people.
Well, and I get, I can get passionate talking about real estate, but I get passionate talking about these kind of events too.
Yeah.
Because to your point, Jim, you just made is, you're going to be in a room with 350 other big thinkers.
Yep.
growth-minded people.
And Jana and I go to 2 or 3 of these events a year.
Yeah.
And you come out of there with energy, with fire. You come out of there thinking, I thought I was a big thinker. I'm not even close, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I need to be thinking on a whole different level. And many of these speakers will help you and give you nuggets on how to get there. But also, I think one of the huge advantages of going to these events is the relationships you make with people you meet there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and I'll give you a real quick, perfect example is, a year ago, I went to one of these events. I met one of the people I met there. Well, 4:30 today, we're closing on property number 15.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So she has bought 15 properties with my assistance in the last year.
Good for
right?
you.
And that's just one person I met there,
Yeah.
right? So it's the relationships you build. You don't know who you're going
It
to meet.
was not a real estate conference.
Yeah,
Right.
and it wasn't even a real estate conference.
A lot of
right?
people kind of, they look at the 10X big events, those the growth cons, and why would I want to go there? What am I going to get out of it? It's like, dude, it's the relationships are the new currency.
Yep,
Yeah.
You got to start, getting known.
You
More
got to
so.
be in a room with people smarter than you.
Yeah.
And you need to be in a room where you're going to be with people that are growth minded, and you never know where that's going to go. And that's a self limiting belief just right there saying,
Yeah.
you're going to go, what am I going to learn? Well,
I need to get over myself.
You got to
first.
get over yourself first.
Yeah, I like being the smartest guy in the room.
And Mr. Dropping Bombs himself,
That's
Brad
right.
Lea, would tell you the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
The more money you make.
Yep.
That's
God,
exactly.
what a voice on him, huh?
Yeah.
I told him, he goes, how do I do a voiceover? I'm like, get yourself a script. I don't know. He's like, hey, everybody, this is, I'm like, yeah, you're a DJ now.
Yeah.
That's a
And
different
if they
voiceover.
come to the June 10th event, even though Jim McCarthy won't be there,
I know.
you will hear him
Yeah.
because on the video introduction for Brad Lea,
Yeah, that's right.
Jim did the voiceover.
That's
so
right.
Kudos to you.
He plays the intro that I did.
Uh-huh.
Didn't you just have him on? Didn't you just do
We just had him on Rich's show.
on Rich's show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had him and followed up with Brian Covey.
Uh-huh.
Both very powerful episodes. But I mean, Brad, man, he just kind of nugget after nugget after nugget. He just got so many good ideas.
Yeah. He is. He's a character.
Oh my gosh. I'll send him. It's funny because he wants to move to Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll come across a house. And I'll just be randomly looking on Zillow. I'm like, oh, I'll send it to him. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? And it's always something. He's like, doesn't have enough land.
Well,
Melissa's the one that's going to make that decision for him. So
and it's
So,
and the cool factor, dude. You got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know, they don't come much cooler than that. So if you know his whole cool factor thing, you've got to keep that in mind.
Got to make sure it's got rhino statues.
Yeah.
and we bribed him to come out with cigars.
And that you told me that story,
So,
Jana.
yeah.
You said that you keyed into something he really liked. He's like, hell, I'll come out there for that. You
He
know?
said he'd marry me for those.
And what we had to go through to get him was a whole different story.
We
But
won't go
anyway,
into
so-
that.
But I mean, that's the thing. He did a whole show on how to follow up with people with gifts and things of that nature, and it was very insightful. A lot of the stuff I kind of knew, but it was verified and validated by somebody else saying it. Like, well, you'll send me, you'll be on my show, and you'll send me a shirt with your logo on it. Why would I wear that? You know, and he makes a good point. He says, if you come here and he says, you know how many people send me cigars? So I was on his show and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is send him cigars, but it's going to take me time. Like I just literally found an octopus. I came across it on Facebook, a octopus shaped phone holder. Now Cardone is a huge octopus fan, massive, right? I'm going to send it to him. Be like, yeah, I know this took me a while, but I finally found the perfect gift for thanking you for being on my show.
That's awesome.
But you know, he made, oh yeah, I remember. Isn't that cool? He waited until he found the perfect, because I literally went out for people that are in the gifting industry. I'm like, what do you have that's rhino based? Cigar ashtrays, lighters, anything like that, that I could send to him as a thank you. That has a rhino. That's his thing, is the rhino.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, we've been out to his office a couple of different times.
Nice office.
Yeah.
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 I mean, he's got a nice studio.
Yeah, he does.
Almost as nice as this one.
Almost. Almost.
I hope
Sorry,
you can tell-
Brad, but almost. As
No, it's nicer than this one. He put a lot of money into that studio.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So our event, we're really excited about it. We hope that people will take advantage of it and that they will come and level up. And our intent truly is to bring something that typically you're going to see in a much bigger city than Nashville, but we're bringing the same level of speakers, and it's really the first time anything like this has ever been done in Nashville.
Right.
So we're investing in people by bringing these people here.
Sure. Yeah. Great networking event for sure.
Yeah.
Well, right on. Check out those links in the description, and also make sure you're following along Brian and Jana Truman, everything that they're doing. Please follow us along as well with the What's Your Problem podcast. Check us out at whatsyourproblempodcast.com, and let me know if anything comes across your desk that you want me to investigate and interview people. If you know somebody who's having problems in their business and we should be talking to them, let me know. Hit me up. whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Guys, thanks for being on and hanging out with me.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
Our pleasure. Thank you for inviting us.